Here's your microphone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is it on?
Yeah. Alright. Greetings, salutations, what is up? This is your hostess of the mostest, your favorite Uncle Leo, aka Leo Johnson, also known as your sincerely Mr. Johnson, also known as Lord Waves, and I am joined by a very special guest. Special guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi.
I love it. You're not going to introduce your name?
Oh, no. I am Sitara. That is me.
That is I.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think that's all you need to know.
Love it.
Cool.
Right. So, we were actually having a conversation, and I don't want to spring this up on you, but I actually think it could have gone something quite interesting.
Are we talking about our religious hookups now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, would you like to ask the question or pose it how you did, like literally 5 minutes ago? You don't remember?
Just like wondering how being religious in the modern world, how they kind of intersect with each other in terms of like what you believe about certain things. I mean, yeah, I think religion is like up for interpretation and people express it however they want. But I think sometimes, it's had the history of being quite conservative.
Mm.
And I think our generation is kind of just moving away from a lot of that stuff. So I'm just curious about it. But I'm very curious about your story.
Okay. So I agree with you. I think the beauty of, and something we share and we always talk about whenever we do see each other, is like travel opens perspective, kind of opens your mind.
Yeah.
So I, as a lot of people have probably heard, I've had the privilege of studying in Barcelona. So in that, I've met a lot of people that are either extremely Catholic, and I know I'm specifically targeting that side, but not really. Like, I've met a lot of Catholic people. Mm-hmm. Then I've met, which I didn't expect, a lot of Russian Orthodox, like actually from Russia and Ukrainian, but I've met a lot of Russian and Ukrainian Orthodox Christians. So that intersection is something I've interacted with quite a bit. Now, let me tell you the story. So I was talking, vibing and chatting, with this young Russian lady. And, lady, that sounds so old. But we were chilling at the club one night. Now, we know each other. Like, we had been, going out and stuff before we had done this. Then we went to the club. So now it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And she randomly says to me, yo, I want to take you to my pastor. So I'm doing mental math in my head. Like, where does this come from? Why are we saying this in the club? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. So I'm trying to understand, where do you go to church? Because there aren't that many English-speaking churches in Barcelona. It's not a common thing. They don't have to do it. It's not the UK. So she's like, no, I go to an Orthodox church. Now I'm like, okay, I've never been to an Orthodox church, but I know what one is. People who live in Midrand know about the one when you drive into Grand Central, the hard train station. There's the big one with the gold and stuff. It is very Russian once you meet Russian people. Or it is very Eastern European, rather, let me say that, not to get other Eastern Europeans offended. Now, I'm very confused. She's like, no, it's a Russian church. I'm like, a Russian church? I don't speak Ruski. Now she's giving me this whole spiel. But in my head, I'm like, how does this come up to you knee deep in the club at 2:30 in the morning that you want to take me to see your pastor? What does this mean? I was terrified.
No, thank you, honey.
I was terrified. But I guess it's for some people, it just strikes them whenever it does. Literally just, this is what I think, this is what I should say. Maybe you should. Now, I didn't see her after that day again, because later that night, things things got heavy.
Are you gonna tell me?
Oh, okay, I can tell the story. No, okay, so
how hectic is it?
I won't tell the full story, but this is what happened. So we were in a section, right?
You'll tell me later. I'll tell me after.
100%, yeah. We were in a section, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone in the section got a bit angry. People were tired. This was day 4 of a bender. Mm-hmm. Now we're I'm sick of your face. Literally, I'm actually sick of your face type things. And we went out, and then there was a fight. Drinks were thrown at each other. People started shouting. And this is a club we go to a lot. So when they heard a lot of us shouting, they were like, oh no, whoa, this is bad. Mm-hmm. Took a few people out, and then in the Uber, there was shouting and a lot of expletives and words that I would never have expected out of this young lady's mouth. So I exited the Uber. I was like, nope, not gonna involve with this. In the middle of the road, and that's not common. It's not it's safer than in Joburg getting out of your car and then but I was like, no, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Walked out, and then she somehow found her way to Posties, Like literally, like she messaged one of my boys, and then she was in the house later, and I was like, oh, this is what we're doing here. But I'll tell you what was said later. That will give you more context as to why I was a bit, because I'm not very, I would like to think I'm not that irrational in terms of like, I can take a lot. I'm quite patient.
Yeah.
I'll leave you afterwards. I'll let you keep doing the stuff, and then if you realize like this was not what you wanted to do, then okay, cool. Like, and I'll tell you what I think you did wrong. But if this, I can take a lot in that stuff. Like, if someone attacks me, I'll be like, okay, whatever. Like, you've lost because you got all angry, heated, and now you look like Popeye without the spinach.
Yeah.
But to get back to what you like, the whole interaction between like people who are very religious and being in relations and stuff, I think it's very interesting because like I've seen a lot of people who are Muslim, because there are a lot of, in Spain there's a lot of Moroccans, a lot of people from the Arab Emirates, the Middle East.
When I was there, I was surprised.
Yeah, but then you realize the history of it.
It makes sense.
Yeah, and also it's like, dude, it's like
there.
the people are trying to swim there. Like legit, right now, if you look on the news, people are like trying to save the life. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's wild.
But I find it quite interesting where it's like, hey, if there's an attraction on a human level, it kind of questions whether religion is a human thing.
I have so many thoughts on it.
Speak.
I don't know. I think organized religion. I think. Oh, close.
Yeah.
Organized religion, I think, like at its core, is a good thing, and I admire and appreciate certain aspects of being religious.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy I was telling you about who prayed, like it's nice to practice gratitude in that way if that's what people are interpreting it as.
Mm.
But like, I don't know. I think at its core, it's a good thing, and it comes from a place of wanting to show appreciation and having love for people and treating people with kindness and stuff. And I think that across all organized religion, that kind of is the core and the base.
Mm-hmm.
And then humans human it up, and then it becomes violent and ugly and unkind and inhumane. And then I'm like, I don't get
any of it.
Yeah.
So I the reason I got to this point in my life where I am more spiritual than I am like religious.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a funny thing. When I started this podcast, every time I would have the section of talking about spirituality, the only thing I hear people talking about is astrology. So then I was like, maybe there's a disconnect in what spirituality means to a lot of people. Then I would introduce it to people, and then they would understand what I'm saying.
It a bit more.
Yeah, and then they would like, because I would always introduce it as spirituality is bigger than religion is the practice, and then spirituality is, I mean, it's outside of practice. Like like religion is spirituality practice. That's how I just explain to people. But also I'd realize like the reason I think a lot of this disputes, arguments, weaponization of this whole thing on religion is it's books that are like stories and recorded history and all of that stuff that get left to interpretation.
Yeah.
And anytime there's something that's left up to someone's comprehension skills, oh my goodness. That's why lawyers, like I even said this to one of my friends, that's why lawyers get paid so much, because you're just interpreting a book of law. You're looking at this and I'm going to twist it in a way that proves you are innocent.
Yeah, for sure. I get that.
Because two people can commit the same crime and then one will go to jail and one won't. Even if they are even, let's even like level the playing field, same race, same age, same like all of that stuff. Sometimes it's just the person who's reading it knows how to twist it in your favor.
I think I agree. I don't know. It's just a very confusing thing. Like a lot of people that I interact with around our age who aren't religious, and most of them grew up within some sort of more organized, structured religion in terms of their family and stuff. Like there's not, I didn't really grow up with any religion, so I think it all kind of just like out of reach. But it's also not something, like I'm interested about learning about it, but it's like it's not something I aspire to.
Yeah, I have a question, because I mean this is a podcast.
Okay.
Do you think? Okay, so I've realized there's like, depending on where in Gauteng, because I'll broaden it outside of just Joburg because of that. Where in Gauteng people are, you can see different things into like different understanding. Yeah, get the cracks out, cracking again. Shout out, big vibes. That sounded like good relief. Depending on where you're in Gauteng, there tends to be a different level of conservation when you bring up religion. So do you think that even in our generation, there isn't really going to be much change from what we saw in the past.
I don't know. I think it's tricky. I think because we have access to so much information, just in general, there's a lot of agency in terms of like choosing what you want to believe and choosing how you want to interpret things. So I think there is a slight shift. I do find myself being surprised though about like how many people are consider themselves quite religious, but it's also not in the way that we understand religion, like people who believe certain things and believe that people are more or less or whatever the case is because of religion. I think that's something our generation is, I think, probably more inclined to move away from.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. The access to information even gets to my previous point of like the ability to travel and stuff. Because the minute you, like, honestly, I will say I learned a lot about Christianity, even though I'm not a practicing Christian or anything, from seeing different, like a different ethnic group practice. I don't know if I'm making sense what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not like seeing something in South Africa can become so dull to you that it's like, this is just a normal South African thing. And also I learned a whole lot from just seeing more than like Western religions. Like if you go to Asia and like the proper Far East, or let me say, the Far East, you're probably going to interact with more than just like, you're going to see Hinduism, you're going to see Sikhism, you're going to see all of these other levels of like religion that aren't really in Western media, which is what we get fed a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yeah, we just are. And then there is like a whole level to like paganism and stuff, but that's not really a religion.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, in terms of relationships and stuff, to get to my point, I've seen Muslim guys get with girls who are Christian. I've seen people that are not religious get with extremely religious people. Like at a certain point, I feel like people just don't care, and at a human level, this is attraction.
I think that's cool though. I think that's how it should be, right?
That's life, bro.
Yeah.
100% that's life. I personally, because I know there are some people that are extremely strong about it, and where I find that a lot, and not to throw shade at people or anything, but I find that a lot more. And like, if you were to go to Pretoria, you're probably going to find that a bit more. But I also just think there's different clocks on different sides of the world that are moving. But also that is just like, yeah, like there are people who are very like, I'm a Christian girl, I only want to talk and get and be with and eventually marry a Christian man. And that's full stop.
That's hectic, yo. That's like a lot to put on a person. It's a lot to put on yourself too, I think.
Oh, 100%. It's a lot of filtering you have to do.
Oh, yeah.
Because think about how much conversation you have to get through before you'll actually like find someone that meets these criteria now.
All of them. That's crazy, yo.
Because think, even it gets to a point that, like, what does a modern Christian look like?
That's my thing.
So you could look and you could see, okay, I know what a guy at my Sunday school looked like, but then you'll realize you go out and this guy is...
They look and behave and...
completely different.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I find myself like surprised that like, oh, this person is extremely religious. Like they go to church every Sunday and whatever. To each their own, hey?
To each their own.
Yeah.
So, I did bring up travel.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, and this will even, listen, you'll see how the transition is, because I pride myself on my transitions.
Okay.
But, listen, you got to beef yourself up. Self-love. To a South African who hasn't traveled a lot, what would you just say to them about travel? From your experiences, let's say.
From my experiences, like, in the best way possible, you just realize how small you are. The world is so big and wide, and there is every extreme of whatever you want to experience, you can experience it in different parts of the world, and you get to meet people and culture that is so completely different from your own. And sometimes it's nice to learn about it. It's like you just understand people on a whole different level. Like you kind of notice that like we're all kind of the same. We're all exactly the same, but also the things that make us different are also so great. Can I swear? I forgot to ask this.
Go off.
Yeah, it's just like it's nice to just meet people that are so vastly different from each other and who just learn. It's like learning the world in a whole bunch of different languages and learning about people in a whole like a bunch of different languages, people are like rich and kind and loving, and they do it in all sorts of ways.
Yeah.
And you only experience it if you go out and do it.
Facts.
Yeah.
I think why I like talking about travel. Because I think to someone who's not really listening to the nuance, and whenever I bring it up, they think I'm just people are just trying to show off that they're able to leave the country. But I kind of look at it and I say, sometimes even going up the road to Zim or Botswana will broaden your horizons on what an African person is.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially like the recent things going on in our country have made me realize there are a lot of people that are kind of like tone deaf almost to what's actually going on in the African life.
100%. 100%.
Like it's dazzling because, and I think it's also a thing like I've spoken to some people from Brazil and they have a similar thing to us where you can live somewhere extremely rich, like wealthy, like Santon even, and then 5 kilometers away it's like a favela.
Yeah.
And we have a similar thing here where you can drive like 5 kilometers there and after Weinberg you're now in a township. Like,
for sure.
It's one of those things where you kind of have to realize like, yo, once you see poverty in different places, you can kind of understand that, okay, unfortunately it's a problem, but it's still people almost. And when you start to understand that, I think you can have a greater appreciation of why you want to fix things and why you kind of like have to just love people almost. I know that sounded like a bit of a love thy neighbor thing.
No, but I think it's true. I do agree with you. I think also it's like, well, at least for me, I feel like whatever moment that we're in, the person that we are, it's just like a collection of all of the different people and places and things that we interact with. And then when you travel, when I travel, it feels like there's just a different part of myself that I get to discover that you wouldn't have because you haven't interacted with that part of the world.
That's a bar.
Oh, gee, thank you so
That's a
much.
bar. That's a bar.
But you know what I mean, like
100%.
Even if it's you can pick up things that you like and really appreciate about the way that people there are, and it inspires you to act a certain way or believe a certain thing. And even if it's the opposite, if you find like you don't like the way that they treat people and you don't like the system of beliefs, then I mean that's learning too.
Yeah. That just reminded me of something because I kind of look at it like this. Only time I went to China, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't understand anything, not a spick span anything.
Yeah.
I don't speak Mandarin, so I'm just there like, yo, if this person doesn't speak English,
I don't know if it's just me and like because I've specifically traveled mostly in a certain part of the world. Like them East Asian languages, bro, or just like Asian languages, they just are like so far away from me. Like you said, like there's just nothing to pick up on at all.
Yeah, even people who've been to Thailand tell me like, unless they're in a tourist heavy area, this is hand signals now. Yep. Now we all hear like, yeah.
Dude.
And again, I think that goes to your point of like, it teaches you a lot about yourself. How far are you going to go to like communicate something with another human? Because at a core level, if we all believe in this egalitarian, we're all humans thing, and especially those people that believe all people are created equal and all lives matter, that nonsense, and I mean specific people believe that all lives matter nonsense, this is for you people. If you believe that, go to another country and try to speak to someone who doesn't speak your language at all.
Yeah.
Like, go and do that and try and get on their level when you're not in your own comfort zone. Because it's easy to say all lives matter when you're comfortable at home chilling.
Oh my god,
Oh no, listen, I've got real beef with that. Like,
oh my gosh.
that Do you want to get into it or you don't want to get?
No, like I'm starting.
Are you getting heated?
Yeah, dude, like,
I see the fumes.
I'm going to get sweaty.
But no, I'll quickly finish, and then if you want to, I'll give you a bit of time to decide and if you want to speak about that. But yeah, being in a place where you have to actually come on their level or get higher to their level.
Yeah.
When I went to Spain, so this is the first day I got to Spain, I'd never been to Europe. Never been to Europe. That was my first time. So you get to Spain, right?
Barcelona's the best. Yeah, they don't speak English at the airport. No one spoke English.
So imagine there's a strike that day. Now listen, the people in Barcelona, because of like Catalonia and their heritage and stuff, they like us. They like, if there's a reason to protest, I'm out there. Like, I'm going. If there's a reason to riot, I'm out there. I'm going. So that day there was a taxi strike. So we like, oh no. Because if you get a taxi, get home, it's quick. You've put it in your app.
Yeah, not the
You
subway,
save.
dude. Not as we arrive.
Nah, not that day. But like, cool. So we get there. Now we lost. It's my mother now. My mother came with me on the day that we went. So now we lost. Now, we don't really have a SIM card or anything. So can't really do Google Translate. Because everyone is like, oh, we're going to do Google Translate. Yeah.
This is like something that I have like
Fear about.
like genuine fear about.
So we get out at a bus, like there's like a shuttle that gets you into different points in the city. Now that I've been there, I know those points. It's easy. Like I could get dropped anywhere at those points and I know how to get home. But I don't know how to read those bus lines. It's not the Gautrain. It's not one straight line unless you go to Marlborough that takes you to... No, this is like this line. Even though I've been... It's easier than New York's, I'll say. Because New York subway line and all of that stuff, you'll sit there like, yo, this is a math test and I don't know how I'm going to pass it. But we got there and it was like, no one really wants to speak English. Especially if they can tell you're a tourist.
Yeah. Why should they?
Yeah, I'm in Spain, bro.
Yeah. Learn Spanish.
Like, yeah.
Easy.
But it was literally like, yo.
It's scary. It's not nice.
Just had to show stuff like, okay, cool. Eventually got to where we needed to get. Dankeschön. Love the world. But it's like, yo, when you lost in a place that's not your comfort zone, you'll know yourself.
Yeah.
So
it's like traveling is like the best fucking time to get lost.
Oh, facts.
Like if you get lost in your home country, like this is horrible. But if you get lost overseas, especially, well, maybe it's specifically in Europe, you're fine.
Yeah, 100%.
You can go anywhere. You can go and visit like museums and cathedrals and find like a nice shopping street. You can do fucking anything.
Yeah, I don't think you want to get lost in like...
I got lost in Barcelona and it was maybe the best day of my life.
I'm sure you got lost in one of the narrow streets because they're stupid. They have like big streets, narrow streets.
Yeah, we were staying in the Gothic Quarter, so all of the streets were... This was beautiful, but all of the streets were really, really very, very narrow.
Yeah.
And I found myself at a cathedral, and then I had some ice cream, I walked around, and I was like, cool, I'm going to go back. And I don't know what happened. I just couldn't find my way home, so I was like, well, I just sat in like... I had ice cream the whole day.
That's a vibe.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, it's getting dark now. And then other people thought I was Spanish and they were like, please help. And I was like, girl.
I don't even know where I am.
Yeah, that's not me. You've chosen the wrong one. I'm not the chosen one.
Oh, that's a bar.
Yeah.
Should get into rapping.
Where that came from.
Oh, listen, the album coming soon. So do you want to get onto topics or do you want to talk about that All Lives Matter thing quickly?
We can get onto topic.
Okay.
Maybe it'll come up in one of your topics.
Don't think it will, but I could try bring it in. Don't worry. I'm elastic with this stuff.
Cool.
Okay.
Let's get into the topic.
In traveling, I think you learn a lot about the world, right?
Yes.
It's one of the things I've always realized. Now, funny enough, you have a job in the restaurant sector, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do.
I am a waitress.
Now, one of the things that is, I think, in a level, let's say millennials down, one of the bigger things that have come up is tipping.
Oh my god, I was thinking about this when you sent me the topic. But yeah, do you want to say something else?
Oh no, wait. You still have to wait for the transition. I'm going into this. Okay. Come on, listen. Greatness only. Now, when you're overseas, there's different customs. Some places you don't tip.
Yeah.
So people are a bit like, yeah, it's like, why you paid the bill, and also they get paid appropriately.
Yeah.
In other places, you are paying like 20% minimum. Like I remember I went to New York and in the airport, most of the restaurants there, they tell you how much you tip. So on your bill, it's there at the bottom.
Yeah.
Tip, tax, all of that stuff. Now working here in South Africa, a country that is heavily based on like travel, like tourism kind of thing. So restaurants, all of the stuff like that. How have you experienced this tipping, especially in a weird time like right now?
Do you mean specifically with foreigners or in general?
In general.
I think in general, the restaurant that I work at it's like quite a nice restaurant. So people who are coming there generally do have money to spare. It's not really I've only been working there since Feb, so it's not even been a year, and with this lockdown I haven't been at work for like a month now. But in general, I would say Gen Zs Guys, we don't like to tip.
Yo.
We don't like to tip. And it's sad. It sucks.
Yeah.
Because we'll also go to a restaurant and sit and drink the whole day. Like, that's the young people with money. That seems to be the trend where they have money to be, like, buying bottles and shit, but then they
Don't tip.
They don't tip. Not even a full 10% sometimes, even though they're there with, like...
Daddy's black card.
My boy, and they're there for hours.
Not to interrupt you.
There was a table that spent... It wasn't my table. They spent, like, 2K, and they tipped the waiter, like, $10.
No way. Yo, that's disrespectful.
Yeah, dude.
Don't even give me the tip at that point.
Oh my gosh.
10 rand.
10 rand.
Just quickly, I feel bad for, there's a place in Greenside, Topo Gigios. When they have their half price, I feel like no one tips. Because you drink so much and it gets so late that the concept of tipping, you look at your bill and you're like, oh snap, we spent 850 rand here.
More so now after I started working at a restaurant, but before I'd always top up the tip, always. Because I also just feel so, I'm like, oh, you have to deal with us?
Yeah.
We're terrible, the worst.
Yeah, Gen Zs are bad.
Yeah, dude, Gen Z have the tendency not to tip so much. Otherwise, at the restaurant that I work at specifically, people tip pretty well. Foreigners, sometimes it's not really, I think it's also because it's not something they necessarily think about. But then you can kind of tell people like that have been here for a while, because then they'll do it. And a lot of the time we get a lot, like very, very big tips.
Hey man, it's the currency sometimes also.
Yeah.
Like some people are like making dollars. So like...
But even South African people.
That's true. I guess it comes with the like where you are. I was talking, or not talking. I was reading comments on a YouTube video I was watching the other day, and it was like, it wasn't even actually about restaurants and stuff, but they were like, it was like one of those things, like 15 things you do at like stupid, like funny thing. So one of the comments was like, I would never tip at a restaurant where there's cheap food, because I'm coming there because it's cheap food. I'm not coming there to spend money. But if I'm at an expensive restaurant, I'm tipping big. So I thought about that.
That's what I was gonna say. I think because it is, it's like not fine dining, but a finer dining restaurant. On average, people do have a tendency to tip 10% like minimum. Generally, that's the place. Like I think at Topos, for example, per table, we probably get a lot more in tips. In general.
Yeah, I guess it's weird. Because some places, like, even if you use Topo getting, your Topo getting such free promo. Yeah, they need to, hey, Topo, sponsor the podcast. Give me, like, a black card or something.
Give us unlimited
jugs.
Give us unlimited jugs.
When things are better, because, like, right now, I don't know how, I hope the restaurant's doing good. But, hey, but I think, like, at a place like that, because it's a bit, I guess it's ambience, honestly. I think in a place where you can be a bit more, I want to say open, but where there is a bit more relaxed, it's a bit more vibey, it's a bit closer to, these like bar restaurant type of things.
Yeah, for sure.
I think sometimes it's like the person comes out. So whether they tip or not comes out. I think if you had a high-end restaurant or something,
people will always tip.
Yeah, I think it's just the environment that kind of puts you in a position where...
Yeah, I think so.
It's a bit quieter, it's a bit slower. You have actual interaction with your waiter, waitress, matron, as we say in this era. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree. I have to say, I've had a very positive experience working in a restaurant. Like,
tell us more.
I don't know. Like, I think when I've heard about people working in a restaurant, it's always like, and it is, people can be just very unkind and whatever. And I understand that employers can be very, very difficult and very, very also unkind to their staff, but it's just not an experience I've had necessarily. Like, management is very good, or at least in my experience, they have been very good and very fair, and it's quite we get our shit done, but it's like a very relaxed environment, very big on teamwork. All of my coworkers are really genuinely just very, very kind people, and I'm having fun still.
Love it.
Yeah, and because people are always like, oh yeah, like it's terrible, how bad is it? And I'm like, I mean, it's like sometimes it is really difficult. People are a lot, and it's a lot to always have to be nice to people all the time, but I really enjoy it. Also, I really like being nice to people.
That's a breath of fresh air to you.
Yeah, I like being nice to people, and then I don't really have like the social anxiety associated with them, because then they come and then they leave. Yeah.
I guess I've I know a lot of people that have either worked in restaurants or bars or etc. where tipping is kind of a thing. I think it gets to the area. I think if you're in an area like here in where your restaurant is, it's very like it is competitive, but you don't really see a lot of new restaurants. Like sometimes there's a lot of stability when there's stability.
Yeah.
So when like maybe where closer to where you live, there probably is a bit more fierce competition. Like where there it's like this restaurant could fall in 6 months.
And it is like that, where there's just new ones popping up all the time.
Especially, I think, not to beef up your space, but it is quite hipster. Like,
yeah.
The crowd is the same, but their interest in something goes very quickly. So you'll see it in your pocket very quickly as a restaurant owner. So I think there you probably see a lot of terrible owners, or like, not terrible, but just guys who are like...
Yeah, dude.
Guys and women. People that are just put in positions where it's like, I can't even think about being human to you right now. This restaurant would fail in a month if like things don't get done, if things aren't quicker, if you aren't doing this, if you aren't doing that.
I think fair enough. I get that. I've never thought about it that way, but also I think there's space to be high, like fast paced, super high pressure, but also be treating the people that work for you like they're humans. Because I think that's important. I think it also boosts
morale. Yeah,
and it makes you want to work. Like every Sunday after work, we have a drink.
Love it.
Yeah, because our managers and the owner, they all of them believe that it's good for us to just chill and relax for a moment.
I think, yeah. Listen, the ones that succeed, you always hear this is a good manager.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, people always like, especially when it comes to tipping, is when I realize that I think I've got very lucky. I don't know how I got this job. It's my first waitressing job. She was just like, yeah, cool, let's do it. I didn't interview anything. I just went in. But people are always like, yeah, do you want us to give you your tip in cash? Like, do you guys make your tips and stuff? Do you split?
Oh, that's a serious one.
And I'm always like, no, I get all my tips. Sometimes my tips are more than I think they're gonna be, and that's a blessing. Yeah, like very, very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's just from interacting from, like, I understand where some people come to you and say, like, how do you find it and stuff like that? Because that is even why I asked you, because I've heard a lot more stories of, unfortunately, I've heard a lot more stories of, I hate my boss, they take my tip first. Because maybe I was like 17 when I first heard of people saying, yo, can you tip me in cash? Type of a thing.
Yeah.
And to me at first I was like, what does this mean? Is there some like under the table drug cartel going on here that you guys are not telling me about?
Yeah.
Then I heard the stories and I was like, aha, it's almost like ironically, it's almost like a strip club, but it's weird to me. But I guess it is very, like, I don't want to say social, but it is dependent on the area a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But the ones that win in this tipping thing, I guess it is the area and the kind of people you get. Because I don't know how many people in 4 ways are like tipping like people in Stanton.
Yeah, fair enough. That's true. I don't know. I think I've been very lucky, but I think it's also worth saying this is just my experience, and I also am coming from a place where I have the privilege of, I don't have a lot of expenses and stuff that I need to pay for every day, so I don't know. And it is my specific interaction with people, and I haven't been there long. I'm sure if you had to ask a bunch of different people that I work with, they'd have different opinions. Yeah, different experiences. It's just mine. I've been lucky. I'm very grateful. Yeah. It's a bit much sometimes. Sometimes people are horrible, and sometimes men are sometimes guys are just like very inappropriate. It's infuriating and uncomfortable, but I'm very grateful.
Well, speak on that a bit more to your experience, as you say.
Sometimes people are just like difficult. Like sometimes you can tell, and I'm not very good at it, but like my coworkers are good at it. Someone can walk in and they can be like, this person is difficult after just like asking for their drinks, or they'll be like, they're not gonna tip, cause you can add 10% if you think they're gonna be there for a while and whatever. So they say just add, because they look like they're not gonna tip. And then sometimes like it's just, I don't know, guys are just inappropriate. Like they'll just either visually that you can just see that they're like undressing you with their eyes and it's super uncomfortable, and sometimes they'll just say like really uncomfortable things. And I had a guy who he reached into my apron to look for a pen to ask for my number.
Hey yo, that's just not cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was shocked. I didn't know what to do.
You know, I very often wonder what leads an individual to being that comfortable. And I do mean men, because I don't think very often
that women are touching service people inappropriately. No,
yeah.
Probably not. I would say definitely not. I think. I have no idea, dude. It's like such entitlement, and you can always. It's never like an innocent thing. Because then I wouldn't feel uncomfortable if a guy innocently brushed up against me.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Not to get too out of this thing, but I do think, okay, you know the conversation, I've heard this conversation a lot, when guys are like, this PC culture is terrible, all of this stuff, you can't even approach women.
Bullshit.
But look where I'm going to go with it. And it even supports everything you're about to say. Because it's like, a lot of guys will say that, I don't interact with those guys, honestly, because if you got that kind of sentiment, I don't think you understand. But they're like, I can't approach a girl. What, like, am I going to get cancelled? Doesn't mean I'm sexually harassing, whatever. But, like, you do realize, like, if you step the line, you should be able to see in visual cues and body cues and everything. And also, yeah, it is only the woman who can tell you whether they are uncomfortable or not.
For sure.
Like, it literally goes down to that. Like,
Definitely.
even when
I've also had like the opposite, where a guy will say, like, a guy that's there with women will say something and the women are like, that's not, like, you can't say that to her. And then he'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, was that inappropriate? And I was like, no, I understood what you were saying, don't even stress. Then he was like, that wasn't creepy. And I'm like, no. You just sometimes, like, I don't know, things get miscommunicated or people just are being funny or whatever. But you can always, like, if I'm uncomfortable, it's because you're making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is a thing of like every individual's tolerance level is different, right? Yeah. So even what one female may say in terms of, let's just say, comments, because touching and groping is like, that's obvious. That's like, yeah, like, guys, come on, you can't be groping in 2021.
This guy also pulled down my mask, so because he wanted to see my face. I was shocked.
Hey yo, no way. I
didn't even know what to do. I was like, I'm gonna smack somebody. If I am to lose my job for physical assault, it's fine.
Why,
dude?
Why? Stop it. That's wrong.
Ask me. I'll say no, but ask. You can't just reach over and touch my mask and pull it down, please, sir.
As you said, entitlement.
Oh my god.
I think it all boils down to, and this is one of the things I was eventually going to get to.
Oh yeah, sorry.
The business and like service industry, well, not even just the service industry. I think capitalist societies like very often put up the thing of like the customer's always right.
Yeah, it's really bullshit.
Oh, 100%. I don't know where, like, I go to a business school, so sometimes it is in like lectures and stuff. But even like the lecturer will say, listen, at the end of the day, the customer's always right, but that's only like, they're not always right. Like, you can't always be right in some of the stuff. And I think the problem is a lot of this gets communicated to a bunch of people.
Yeah, and I think also in the service industry or like the retail industry where it's not necessarily just an owner interacting with the client or whatever. I think that's different. But I think like in a situation where like an owner of a business or the CEO of a business or whatever is of the opinion that the customer is always right, it comes at the expense of the people that work for you, and that's I don't think that's because
you're throwing your people under the bus.
I don't think it's necessary either.
It's not, but I think because the like if one or two successful ones, it's kind of like you can only dictate the rules once you've like won. It's like the winner dictates the rules kind of thing. So the successful CEOs and stuff will start saying it in interviews with like Bloomberg and all of these new stuff. And then it'll be like, okay, if I want to be like that business, I have to kind of adopt the customer's always right mentality.
Yeah.
Which, as you say, it is at the detriment of your workforce, because it's like, hold on, that means I'm wrong for some, even if this person communicated poorly what they wanted. or just this person literally
Just being entitled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just being a Karen.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
People have complained about. I've seen people complain about some crazy. I've seen people do some crazy entitled shit. Like just like crazy. There's a family that comes. I'm so sorry if any of this family.
Yo, you're blowing up this spot. It's lit.
I'm so sorry if the children of this family ever sees or hears this podcast. Maybe they won't know.
I will
There's
love
a
you still.
family
It's
that
okay.
comes. So we have like a beach area also, and there's this family that comes like on the weekend and they bring their little Yorkshire Terrier, tiny little dog. They order miso glazed short rib for their dog.
Hey, yo, that's yo.
Every time they come, like not like chicken strips, not like chicken breast, miso glazed short ribs and fries.
And the fries. Can't forget the fries.
Yeah,
Hey.
that's crazy. It's not cheap too. Like it's not cheap. It's like $200.
Okay, in this economy, 200 is a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. For the dog, come on.
For a Yorkie, this plain one.
Yeah,
Like,
the little
come on.
bikini ones.
The one that's like the size of a stumro pack of gum.
Yes.
Come
Yeah,
on.
dude. Tiny dogs.
I guess the entitlement in consumers is a very interesting thing to me. Especially because like a lot of what I study is like business and our international relations. So it's like, I think I even see it like, I think entitlement has become a thing in a lot of modern society somehow.
Yeah. But I have many theories on this, but also as you climb the ladder of privilege, the more entitlement you're going to find along the way.
Yeah.
And the trouble is, because they're at the top of that ladder, or whatever we want to call it, they probably do have more money and are able to spend more money, and they can benefit your business in a certain way. So I do get it on some levels. Like sometimes it's easier to give them what they want so they can give you what they want.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's kind of like a, look, to me it's all a power play thing. Who's gonna exercise their power more? Because I have the product.
Yeah.
But you have the money. So do I think I can get another consumer who's going to spend at least like 5% under or 5% more than you? If the answer is no, you're probably winning in this.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I even think about it like, that's even how politics works. If I think I can get 100 people to agree with what I'm saying in order to get my point across, and you can only get 5 people to tell me different,
Yeah.
where are we going to go with this?
For sure.
Because that's what kind of dictates right and wrong, unfortunately. It's kind of just popular opinion.
But I do, in terms of politics, yeah.
But I even when I say politics, I don't even just mean at a parliament government type of a thing. I mean politics in terms of just the ebb and flow of society type of a thing. Like right and wrong, unfortunately, like, okay, if we look at it like this, right, and it is gonna, that's crazy. We're about to get to the next topic, and I think that we're gonna have heavy on. But it kind of gets to a thing of like, okay, how you and I interact, right? Is kind of, we representing ourselves firstly, and then whoever else sees themselves in us. Without us knowing, unfortunately, we are put in that position just because of what society has kind of become. It's not, you're not just Sitara going out and talking to someone. You are Sitara Pierce, who can be identified through your followers, who can be identified through your friends, through your family, through interactions with your business, through interactions with so and so and so.
Yeah, I feel you.
So in some way or another, the reason why people can even get like fired from their job is because you are representing them, because you have decided to align yourself with them.
Yeah.
Until you decide to sever that tie, you are in that political plane now. Now you are with that link.
Yeah, I feel you. Like we have to behave or subscribe to a set of beliefs or rules or whatever.
Which is a good and bad thing.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And this is where I bring in the next topic.
Okay.
So when I say everyone is entitled to their own opinion, what do you think about that statement?
Let's unpack, shall we?
Oh, I knew you were gonna say let's unpack this. Okay, let's go.
What do we call an opinion? Like, what's an opinion here? Because I am very firm that certain things are not opinions.
Okay, tell me more.
An opinion is, Leo, those are cool glasses.
Oh, thank you.
An opinion is not, I don't think that this person is a full person because of who they are in whatever fucking aspect. That is not an opinion. If you don't think gay people should get married, that's why. That's not an opinion.
Okay.
If you don't think Black Lives Matter, that's not an opinion. That's not a fucking opinion.
Because all lives matter is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, people.
It's so fucking stupid.
You people probably failed all your comprehension tests as a child.
Like you're actually not paying attention.
No,
You're
no,
not
100%.
paying attention. You're choosing, everything's in front of you and you're saying, no, it's fine. I'm just going to ignore that. But yeah, so I don't think, I think certain things are not opinions because it dehumanizes people and that's not an opinion. That's not something that I'm willing to have a debate on at all with anybody. I'm not having a conversation about it. So depends on what the opinion is and like what is an opinion.
Okay. So I've struggled with this probably since I was like 16. Just thinking about it. Because, you know, some people will say something and they're like, yeah, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Whenever an argument goes tits up, everyone's like, oh, everyone's entitled to their own opinions.
Yeah, I'm just playing the devil's advocate. Bro, shut up.
But even some people are trying to do that. I'm playing the devil's advocate and they don't even do it right. They're not
But
speaking.
also, it's the same thing where it's like, it's not an opinion. Some things don't need a devil's advocate. They don't.
That's fair.
Things
That's
like
fair.
racism don't need a devil. I don't care.
Oh,
I don't need it. For what? What value is it going to bring to this conversation? Are we going to pretend to entertain the fact that maybe there's something in your argument that could be right? Absolutely not.
Look, well, then the next point I get to is, I think so even in what you were like saying, like, this isn't an opinion or not, or what is an opinion, I think some people have ill-informed opinions. So it could even be, let's go something that's so base level.
Okay.
Pineapple and pizza.
Yeah.
Let's just start there. Let's not get people riled up yet.
Okay.
Even though people are going to get riled up.
That's not going to get people riled up.
It's going to get people riled up. But I kind of think, okay, cool, let's start there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people have never had pineapple on pizza.
But they say it's gross.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think in that sense, like, in like the best way possible, bro, who cares? Do what you want to do. And in that way, I think people are entitled to their own opinion. Like, when you're making choices about yourself, do whatever you want. Eat the thing. Drink the thing. Put the tattoo on the middle of your head. Do it.
Do it. Come
Yeah.
on.
Take the hormones. Change your body. Put the piercing wherever. Do it. I don't care. In that way, I think people are entitled to whatever their opinion they want when it has to do with themselves. For me, just in general, and I think like the way you're asking it is in context of interacting with people around their opinions. For me, I think the line where you're not entitled to your opinion is when you are being just in general, the way that I interact with people, when you're interacting with the person, the animal, without kindness and empathy and stuff, I think then it changes. I don't think it's necessarily, I think it's more of a belief, sort of. But I do think that, yeah, like, when it comes to, like, your example with, like, ill-informed opinions, it's difficult also, because then it's also like, just try it then. Like, how can you even say that if you haven't tried it?
So here's the next one I'll say.
Okay.
I also think a lot of people's opinions, not all opinions have the same value.
Sure.
So I'll say, if today, let's say, corruption aside, right? Government said, okay, cool, we need to focus on the sanitary pads issue, right? I don't think it's in the best interest to go and ask 14-year-old boys what it means for free sanitary pads, right?
Sure.
Their opinion
100%.
has this much value.
Yes, I agree.
But maybe a single father might have an opinion because he's spending money on pads.
Sure.
But ultimately, the only people who can talk about it are people who have periods, which is women.
Yeah.
Like, that's the bottom. That is the most paramount opinion in that whole conversation.
Yeah, if you have a penis, don't care what you have to say about it. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
agree.
would say, even in the thing with if you have a penis, I would say a single father who's from a township who spends, let's say, 40% of the income because he's not making a lot, would say, yes, this is very important.
Yeah.
even though he's not a taxpayer, because the taxpayer men would say, but this comes out of my tax money.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
the two, this has more value because I could enter the poverty line and now you're going to be paying other taxes for me because I can't afford anything.
Yeah.
You know, and then the next thing would go, like, it's a whole thing of, like, not all opinions, I think, are equal.
No, definitely not.
Some have to genuinely be looked at and said, okay, this is a serious thing.
Yeah. I think maybe also, yeah. I 100% agree with you. Sorry, my mind just went. I don't really
Take us where your mind is. You know, you.
I don't know. I don't think that you're talking about trivial things like pineapple and pizza. I think in general we're talking about things that.
No, serious thing. Like the pineapple and pizza one was just to show, just, like.
Yeah, an example of it. Yeah, I do agree with you. Like, the more whatever we engaging in discourse around, the more it affects you or the less it affects you determines how much value your opinion has.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the issue is, again, it actually goes to your point of empathy and understanding for the other side.
Yeah.
Some people just don't know how to put themselves in another person's shoes.
Yeah, dude. It's not even... I 100% agree with you. People struggle with that. And I think around conversations like things like access to like sanitation for girls or whatever it is, like if it's a problem that you are above in terms of you don't necessarily have to pay attention to it because of your privilege in whatever way it might be. I have understanding and empathy that like it's easier for a white person to go their whole lives and not have to seriously look at race or racism or white supremacy because it's not necessarily something that affects them.
Yeah.
So first of all, their opinion just doesn't have as much weight. But they also, it's hard. I understand that it can be harder for people who don't necessarily have a connection to it and it's not something that impacts them. I can understand how it's harder for them to have empathy. But also, we're adults, bro. Learn.
See, 100%. There's no arguments on that side.
Yeah.
Like, but I sometimes look at it and I say, okay, the thing with like, okay, so you know when Black Lives Matter became a trend?
Do you mean like in 2016 or do you mean like last year?
Like last year.
Okay.
I don't think it was a trend in 2016. I think it was, if you were conscious and you were able to understand what was going on outside of your country, you would have found out about Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, so you mean like after George Floyd was murdered?
Yes.
Yeah.
Murdered people, not passed away. There's a difference. You get that was not manslaughter. That was a killing.
Yep.
Yeah, I just had to break the fourth wall for a second. I think one of the things was a lot of black people or people of color were kind of looking at white people to see whether they finally understood. Because one of the things is we can only talk to the ones who are prepared to listen.
Yeah, and it's such an issue because they don't have to be. Yeah. Because it doesn't affect them. It's difficult. It's tricky. I was listening to a podcast and it was saying like, she wasn't really speaking about racism. I really like this podcast. She was speaking about gender-based violence, not here, but in the UK. It's also, I mean, it's a big issue everywhere. But she was saying it's really tricky because as the woman in the situation, as the black person, the person of color, you are always protesting and educating and fighting for your liberation at the mercy of the oppressor. And it's a really big fucking problem. I think it's also why people get so burnt out and frustrated, and it's so easy to be angry when you encounter people who are ignorant, whether it's by choice or it's just a matter of circumstance. It's really difficult not to get angry because, like you said, we are just yelling at the people who already care. And it's really hard. It's difficult sometimes.
Oh, it's frustrating. I even think when was it, like when did I speak to you about coming on pod? Last week Monday, right? Yeah. So when everyone was starting to hear about what was going on with the riots, I kind of said something on my story along the lines of, we're all shouting and screaming, but what are we shouting and screaming for, and who's listening? So it's kind of like we're all in our circles here and all in our Instagram bubbles and all of our social media bubbles, but it's kind of getting to the thing of who are you speaking to?
Like we're all...
Yeah.
But I think, I agree with you, but I think it's still of value to be vocal and speak up for the things that you believe in.
Tell me more.
I think it is an access to information thing. Like, also, you don't. Maybe sometimes your acquaintance from like 3 years ago, your white boyfriend from high school is still following you, and at the time you weren't aware of certain things and you weren't vocal about certain things, and because he's never had to be conscious of it, when you express your opinion or put information out there on your stories or whatever platform it is, maybe that's the starting point for them.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think
it's of value. Even if it's gonna be like you're gonna say something and then this person's gonna be like, I don't think that this is valid, or then you're gonna say, you know what, nah, unfollow. Don't want you to be part of my life anymore.
No, 100%. I've had interactions like that where someone would be like
both sides of that. Or
yeah, I've had interactions where someone, maybe I just didn't pay attention. They were following me, I was following them, and then they were like, I don't agree. All lives matter. Why should Black Lives Matter only? And I'd be like, dude, what are you talking about?
I'm paying attention.
Yeah, like, and then they would bring up, because the funny thing is always when you bring up facts that are not facts. When you bring up, because it's so nice to bring up a graph and all of this stuff and be like, yeah, but this percentage says more, and it's like, yeah, but do you know how to read graphs? Like, do you know how to read the graph you're sending me?
I have to say, it makes me annoyed. I had an argument. Not an argument. I posted something on my story, and I very, 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 I mean, maybe that's not the reason why he was like this. I don't know. A very religious cousin of mine responded. It had to do with people, like, it's like being a safe space for people to express their gender identity and their pronouns or whatever. And his response was like, oh, ha, 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 what are your pronouns? And I was like, they're she and her. He was like, oh, haha, mine are like monkey and dog. And I said, cool, dude, I'm not having this conversation with you. Then he was like, no, I'm just kidding. And I was like, I don't want to.
Yeah, it's not worth the jokes.
Yeah, I don't see what's funny. What's funny about this? And then he was like, no, I want to understand and stuff. And I was like, so then I don't mind having a conversation if it's a topic you don't have a lot of information on. Cool, let's have that conversation. And he was like, I don't understand why transgender people have to be transgender, and why gay people want to dress like women. And I was like, first of all, you have no idea what sexuality is. Don't come in my DMs and fight with me when you don't know what you're talking about. Just don't do it. Don't do that with me.
Ill-informed opinions.
Yeah. Why are you trying to fight with me?
I think some people just like to argue.
Oh my God. And then I said, I'm not gonna, if you genuinely want to learn, I will send you a resource or two where you can read about gender and what it is. So maybe you can understand this existence that's very far from your own. And then they were like, no, this and that. Then they got into the religion, and I was like, let's not do this. I'm actually not having this conversation. I'm not doing that with you. They said he was saying, what did he say? My goodness me. How did we get here?
Well, I mean, we've been having some great
conversation.
You were talking about.
Oh, he said he was like, I don't know why I should believe them. And I was like, what do you mean believe them? There's nothing to believe. They're standing in front of you. They exist. They are here. There's nothing for you to believe. This is not like something that you subscribe to. It's not like it's in front of you. The person's standing there.
It is reality at this point.
You can touch them. You can poke them in the cheek if you want.
I mean, don't do that. Don't just poke people in the cheek.
Don't poke people in the cheek unless they say it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people like that. Some people freaky.
Yeah.
But he was saying, he was like, no, yeah, I don't believe them, because whenever I try and ask them, they can't explain it. Like, if people ask me about religion, I can explain it to them. And I was like, we are not in my DMs, are we going to try and debate the similarness of trans people existing and subscribing to a certain religion? Absolutely not. We're not going to do that.
Not a chance.
Yeah, and then he got really touched and he told his mom that I was fighting with him.
Imagine your aunt is not like, hello. It's like, yeah.
Cool. She told my mom, like, yeah, and Sitara, like, apparently Sitara was shouting at him. My mom was like, that's a grown-ass man, dude. What must I do about it?
Come on, man.
I feel like I've spoken too much.
Well, we're going to take a quick break and then resume the conversation because I need to do a quick administrative move.
Okay.